So, 3 things that we're doing today. We're not actually going to be given a graph, but we are going to have to use the equation of a circle to find points that are on the circle, equal on both sides, inside the circle, less than the other side, and then outside the circle, greater than the other side. Then we're going to find the average of x and y to figure out the middle, and then we're going to use Pythagorean theorem to find the distance, and that'll help me find the radius. And then we've also got to have the middle and find the radius, and then put it into center radius form, okay? So on this next part right here, we're going to go ahead and write down what the 3 rules are, the 3 inequalities. So if it's on the circle, they're going to be equal on both sides. If it's in the circle, it's going to be less than the radius squared. And if it's outside the circle, it's going to be bigger than the radius squared, because the radius only goes from the center to the outside. It can't exceed it. Otherwise, it's inside. So here's what we got. We've got x and we've got y. What you've got in each of these, 1, 2, and 3, is x, and you've got y. So what we're going to be doing is just straight plugging it in. So we've got 3 minus 1 squared plus, and then we've got 1 minus 3 squared, and then we've got something 25. So I have to figure out what symbol I'm going to put in between these 2 sides. So you're going to type in your calculator 3 minus 1 squared. Make sure that you have that parentheses. And then plus 1 minus 3 squared. And you could type that whole thing in at the exact same time. All right, you're typing that whole thing in at the exact same time, and you should get the number 8. All right, so you should get the number 8. So we have to figure out, is 8 equal to 25? Is it less than 25, or is it greater than 25? And 8 happens to be smaller than 25. Therefore, since it's the less than sign, this point, 3, 1, is located inside of the circle. And then you do the same thing for number 2. So you're going to plug in the 6. So we've got 6 minus 1 squared plus, and then you're going to plug in the 3. 3 minus 3 squared, and then we have to figure out blank 25. So you're going to type that whole left side in your calculator at the exact same time. And you should get the number 25. Since the 2 sides are equal, this point is located on the circle, since they're equal. And then finally, we've got this number 3. So we're just going to be plugging in the negative 4 into x. So we have got negative 4 minus 1 squared plus 1 minus 3 squared. And then we have to figure out blank 25. So you should be typing in that whole thing on the left side in your calculator at the exact same time. No, you do not have to show work if you know what you're doing. And you should get that 29. And hopefully then you'll know that 29 is larger than 25. Therefore, this point is located outside the circle. Right? I'm going to go ahead and pause. Can you guys try out numbers 4, 5, and 6? All right, here we go. So number 4 should have gotten 5, which is bigger than 4. Therefore, this is outside the circle. For number 5, you should have gotten 2, which is less than 4. Therefore, it's inside the circle. And then in number 6, you should have gotten 4, which is equal to 4, and therefore it's on the circle. All right, so this is the first part of the lesson. Any questions? All right. Next question. So these next 4 problems reference example 4 above, okay? So this is where we have, check this out. Each of these questions say it has an endpoint, 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 endpoint. So what we're going to have to do is figure out, first of all, where the center is, and then we have to figure out what the radius is. So for number 7, starting off, let's figure out what our center is. All right, so to figure out the center, you're going to find the average of 1 and 6, okay, the middle numbers. So you're going to take the two of them, 1, and then you're going to add them. All right, to find the average, you always add and then divide by however many that you have. So we've got 1 plus 5, which is 6, and then I'm going to have to divide by 2 so that I get 3. So there's my center for x. And now we're going to have to figure out the center of y. So we've got 8 and negative 6. So we've got 8 plus negative 6, which equals 2. And then I'm going to take half of it, and I get the number 2. So there's my center. Right. So my center is at 3, 2. Oh, wait, 1. Yeah, you're right. All right. Now that we've got the center, what you're going to do is you're going to pick either endpoint. It doesn't matter which one that you pick, and you're going to have to figure out what the radius is. So to find the radius, and actually we need the radius squared, right, to put it into center radius form, we're going to use 3, 1, and I'm going to pick either one of my endpoints. So I'll just pick 1, 8. So now we're just going to count. From 3 to 1, there are 2 numbers. From 1 to 8, there are 7 numbers. So we've got 2 squared plus 7 squared equals r squared, which is just Pythagorean theorem. We're just finding the distance between the 2 points, like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So you're doing 2 squared plus 7 squared. Do not add 2 plus 7 to get 9 and then square that. You'll get 81, which is incorrect. You should get 53, because 4 plus 49 is 53 equals r squared. And now we're essentially done. We're going to be putting this into center radius form. So up here, we need h, we need k, and we need r squared, which is why I'm not square rooting the 53, because I need it to be squared. So inside of my parentheses, we've got x, that'll be minus 3 squared, plus, don't forget the plus sign, and then we've got y minus 1, close parentheses squared, and then we've got equals 53, and that's my final answer. We're going to try again. We've got one more to do of these kind of examples where we've got an endpoint. So for this last one, to find the center, you're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. You're going to count how many numbers are, well, you're going to add the two of them together, and then you're going to take half of it. So we've got negative 3 and 3. So here we go, center. Negative 3 plus 3, which equals 0. When I take half of 0, you still get the number 0. So your x value happens to be 0 for this one. For y, you have negative 4 and 4. So we've got negative 4 plus 4, which equals 0. When you take half of 0, you get 0 again. So my center is at 0, 0. The last thing that we have to do is figure out our radius squared. So we've got our center, which is at 0, 0. You could pick either endpoint. I'll pick negative 3, negative 4. And what you're going to do is a little bit of counting. So when I go from 0 to negative 3, again, positives and negatives don't matter. So we've got 3 numbers in between 0 and negative 3. We've got 4 numbers in between 0 and negative 4. So we've got 3 squared plus 4 squared equals r squared. We've got 9 plus 16, which equals 25. And now we're done. We just have to put it into center radius form. I'm not going to put it into general form because we don't have time to do all that multiplication. So for my center, we're not going to put 0, right? I'm not going to put x minus 0 squared. I'm just going to write down x squared. And we've got plus. And same thing for y. I'm not going to put y minus 0 squared. I'm just going to put y squared. And then we have equals 25. If I were to get it into general form, you would just subtract the 25. Yep. All right. But again, general form, it's got that multiplication. All right, the last part. So we've just done 4 examples given an endpoint. Now we've got 4 examples where we've got the center. So all of these have the center, and they ask us to put this in a center radius form. Well, you don't have to find the middle. It's not necessary because we've already got the center. We've already got the middle. So all you have to do is figure out what the radius is. And since you need it into center radius form, you need that last number to be squared. So again, I don't even have to square root it. So I'm going to take my radius. To find the radius squared, I'm going to take my center. So we're at 2, negative 4. We've got this point, which is at 3, 1. And you're just going to do a little bit of counting with a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So from 2 to 3, there's 1 number. From negative 4 to 1, there are 5 numbers. So we've got 1 squared plus 5 squared equals r squared. 1 squared plus 5 squared equals 26. And now I can put this in a center radius form. So again, we're using the center that we already have. So we've got, it'll be x minus 2 squared plus, that'll be y plus 4. Don't forget to flip your symbols when you put it into center radius form and pull it out. And then we have this whole thing equals 26. And that's your final answer. So a lot shorter than the previous one. So in both of these, we had to find just the radius, we had to count, do a little bit of counting, and then we put it in a center radius form. Last one. And this last one is a little bit different because in this problem, my center happens to be at 0, 0. So you just have to be careful when you put it in a center radius form. You're going to figure out, again, the radius squared by doing a little bit of counting. So we've got 0, 0, and we're going to 5, 1. So you're going to count. There are 5 numbers between 0 and 5. There's 1 number between 0 and 1. 5 squared plus 1 squared equals r squared, and you'll get 26. Now, when you put it into center radius form, I do not want x minus 0 squared. You're just going to write down x squared, and then that'll be plus y squared, and then we've got equals 26. Now when you get into general form, you just subtract the 26 and get that set equal to 0, but this is center radius form.